Hey, hey, welcome to the wake. And I'm on time tonight, believe it or not. All right. So, what'd you guys think of Fangs, right? This was one of those independent movies, right, that I liked a lot, but there was a lot that could have been done better, all right? Now, the way first with the filming of it, right? The filming of it was on it was video. So it kind of reminded me, like I said, third thing reminded me on how like Dark Shadows, if you guys remember what that was about. That was actually a pardon me. That was actually a soap opera about a vampire, right? And Barnabas Collins was the guy, right? And oh my god, this hat. I think I just got this new hat, new Darbarian hat with a snake on it. It don't fit right. You know what? What the heck with this hat? There you go. Never buy a hat at the five and dime store. Okay, so I enjoyed Fangs. I liked a lot of. Hold on, throat. I liked a lot of like the acting. I thought was pretty good. Right. It's just that for a movie, everything just seemed really convenient. Right. And you know the fact that so she takes the place of the girl, right? She basically kills the chick, takes her place, right? But just convenient that the people that she ends up with, right, happen to have a mummy in the basement. You know, it pushed the story forward, but it just seemed kind of convenient. You know what I mean? And it kind of reminded me, and I think I brought this up before, of Godzilla Kong, the New Empire, where Kong hurt his arm, and they just happened to have, a mechanical arm brace that they've been working on for him. Just happened to have it there, right? So like she just happens to pick the family, right? That happens to happens to have a mummy in the basement, you know. Other than that, right? I mean, the movie I thought it was good. The girl that was the vampire, right? She's not too bad looking. She's not Elizabeth Chamberlain, you know what I'm saying? But she ain't too bad looking, right? And we're going to see her again in Fang 2 and 3. We'll probably have them um like summertime, something like that. It depends on um what like our agreement we have with the midnight movies. I think it are Moonlight Movies, and they are a really good production company. They're out of Indiana, and if you guys saw right, and the boss actually posted it, my rant on Notre Dame. Now I am a huge Notre Dame fan, right? Even though I grew up here in Pennsylvania, right? I was never really a Penn State fan. Um, when I was younger, I was because John Capoletti actually went to my high school quite a few years before me, and I had met him a couple times when I was in high school. Great guy, Penn State, but Penn State, I mean, it just never, I never got into it. Notre Dame, I did. Right now, you had a picture like my grandfather, right? He was off the boat from Ireland. Well, his parents were off the boat from Ireland, and it was kind of like he grew up in a depression, and Irish need not apply and all that crap, right? And luckily, he got a job as a printer, right? And you know, the Irish got stuck with these dirty jobs, right? Jobs that people didn't want to do, like firemen, policemen, right? Printers, garbage men, right? They got these jobs, right? And they made enough money to bring the next generation over and the next generation, you know? That's how my family came over. My family, the story was that somebody in the family owned a bar called Callahan's, and they would bring people over. And then another part of the story is Stetson hats, right, was actually Callahan Stetson. And somebody in the family started it, right, and was bringing, family over to work for the hat company, you know. But I don't know how I got on this rant. But, right, so I was always a bigger Notre Dame fan than I was Penn State. I've been to Notre Dame a few times for games. Had a blast, right? But it does drive me nuts that since they came out with the new format, right? First, they had the 2-team format, then the 4-team format, and all that kind of stuff, right? Notre Dame has lost 3 times, and this year they lost to Ohio State, and I was conflicted, okay, because the kid that's the quarterback for Ohio State, right, is a friend of my son's, kid Will Howard, right, and he will be drafted high. I hope the Cowboys don't pick him, please. Oh my God. But he beat Notre Dame, which killed me because I was rooting for them. This was the year, right? They were going to win it. This is the first actual college playoff that actually was a playoff. It had more than 4 teams. It was, and it was great. And they were going to win, and they got their asses kicked by Will. Will, I like you. You're a great kid. But I'm not happy what you did to Notre Dame. So, that was why I went in that rant. And it kills me. They lose every time. Even though they've won several championships through their story time, right? Since like the 90s, right? They're like the Buffalo Bills. And I like the Buffalo Bills, right? I just feel bad for them, The Jim Kelly years, Scott Norwood missing that kick, and he still owes me $350 I lost on that game. Scott Norwood. Ah! Anyway, all right. So, Fangs, we're going to have more movies from their production company. We're going to have Fangs 2 and 3, right? And you guys are going to enjoy because they did another set of our independent movies we got coming, right? Other than higher, oh my God, the people from Edmonton, Elizabeth Chamberlain's people, right? And I'm actually interviewing her next Wednesday night for when we have Haunted 2 and 3, right? I'm hosting them by myself. Um, the doc has way too many projects going on for him, and I'm going to do those 2 by myself, and I'm going to do X Night, which is coming up, and I'm also hosting as my alter ego. I'm going to be hosting the Jackie Robinson story on April 15th. So if you guys really do me a favor, right? You can watch all of the Cemetery Cinemas, but watch the Jackie Robinson story, right? He actually stars in it, and it's actually, it's a good commentary on how America has completely changed from the way it was, you know, up until the 50s, when, that Negro leaguers couldn't play in the major leagues, right? And now look at it now. They are the major league. It's kind of funny. When you don't let somebody in, all of a sudden they come in and they take over. And baseball would never have been the same, right? I mean, yeah, just guys that I grew up with watching Hank Aaron and watching him, right, beat Babe Ruth's record. I'm a hate the Yankees, huge Babe Ruth fan, right? And it drives me nuts that all these players, right? And I actually helped get a handful of players into the Hall of Fame. I worked on a letter, right? And we'll talk about that when I do the Jackie Robinson story. But you know what they've done, and you got to figure African Americans have taken over sports in this country. Ain't nothing wrong with that. That are better athletes. So, so what do we got coming up, right? Well, actually, if you go out to our website, we actually have a schedule this time, which is kind of funny because normally we know it's coming up. We just didn't know what was on what week. So let me bring up the schedule. Go in here and go in there, right? And the schedule is so next week, Spider Baby, right? Lon Chaney Jr. in it. He mailed it in, right? I mean, the movie is god awful. I thought, right? The doc loves it, right? I think he owns it on VHS, reel to reel, DVD, Blu-ray. He has it on every format. He loves that movie. Me, not so much, right? But it is very entertaining, right? Just the acting, you could just. I felt bad for Lon Chaney Jr., right? But his time in his life, he's an alcoholic, right? And he can't get really any other movies other than horror movies, right? And he was in Of Mice and Men, where he was Lenny, and he was fantastic. And it just kills me that the studios, and this is all the studios' fault, right? The studios pretty much take over these guys' lives, and it's not like today, where you get locked into a studio and that's all you can do, right? And he was just playing out the string, and it was a sin, But the movie's just you guys will like it because it's really, really, really freaking creepy, right? And that part of the movie is fantastic. So you guys will enjoy that. We have Dead Girls coming up. It's about a punk band, and one of their songs was about girls who die, right, and all that. And then, pretty much the movie's about that. There's one hot redhead in it, Jane Elizabeth, right? But she's in it, and it's more of Strawberry Blonde, and she's the lead singer, and it's pretty good. Kind of reminds me if Josie and the Pussycats was made into a horror film. Yeah, I think that's a good explanation for that, right? Then on Good Friday of all nights, we have X Night Escape from Hell, right? Now, X Night is a comic written by a guy named Jim Canatelli. You might remember him. He was in um, Slaughter Beach as the Gorton fisherman, the crazy fisherman, right? And he's an author, he's a director, he's a writer, he's a producer. He's a hell of a guy. I've met him a few times, interviewed him twice, and he's just one of those people that you really hope that he does well. I really, really do. Enjoy like I enjoy his book. I was flipping through his comics and all that, and X Night. It's a okay movie, but when he gets money to make X Night into a big budget film, it will be fantastic, right? And he's like, X Night's a superhero, so you're going to enjoy that whole genre, right? Then, on the 25th of April, we got I'm Haunted 2, right? With Elizabeth Chamberlain and the whole Edmonton, Alberta crew, right? You guys are going to enjoy that, right? Creature of Destruction. Okay. Creature of Destruction is a remake, right, of a film, the She Devil, I think it is, right, right, and it's you guys will make the movie better. It's a bad movie, right? As Lobo says, it's not a bad movie, it's just misunderstood. No, this is a bad movie, right? But you'll get a kick out of that. After that, we have Axe, right? Axe is it's an axe murder movie, and it's kind of hokey in parts. You guys will get a kick out of it. I enjoyed it um when I enjoyed it when I watched it, but I enjoyed it even more when we did it. You'll get a kick out of that, right? And then after that, we have I'm Haunted 3, right? That'll be on at the end of May. And then again, that's the last of the trilogy with Elizabeth Chamberlain, right? We have The Curse of Bigfoot. God. They called it The Curse of Bigfoot, but they had no idea what they were doing with this movie, right? The, they think he's Bigfoot, then they think he's a mummy, right? And then when they go in the cave and find him, he actually looks like a mummy because he doesn't look like a Bigfoot at all. Does not look like Andre the Giant when Andre the Giant was in Bigfoot and a $6 million Man, right? And it's hokey, right? But I enjoyed making fun of this movie, and you guys will too. And we have a special guest you'll see in that movie, right? And then the chilling is it's a comedy horror movie, right? And I didn't realize they were trying to be funny till about maybe half hour into it, right? Because now you're watching a movie and go, "This is stupid," right? And then the one-liners and the situations, it was really really good. You guys will love this movie, right? And Linda Blair from The Exorcist is in it, right? Which and she was really good. She was the saving grace in the movie. Even though the guy who played Grizzly Adams was in it, right? He played a completely different part than he played in any other movie. He was not Grizzly Adams, right? He's the police chief that's in charge of this building, and when we get close, you guys will see, and but we have a couple movies coming out. They announced for the summer. I think we have 4 movies set up for the summer, and that's because we have Strathaven football, and I believe there's another football team that he has that'll be on Friday nights. High school football is Friday nights. But he has picked up 2 teams. One of the teams is from the New York Fire Department, and they actually play. I forget what league they play, but it's a New York City league. And one of the guys that played for that team actually lives down here, and he belongs to Alert Fire Company, which was the fire company that was in the Blob. Right? Talk about how things wrap around. Um, so and that's good football, right? And it's all first responders. You guys will get a kick out of that. And then the Jersey Bearcats. The Jersey Bearcats are an indoor football team, right? And I forget which league they're in, but they're really competitive, and I'm looking forward to that. And it's kind of funny. Like in Philadelphia, we used to have the Philadelphia Soul that was owned by John Bon Jovi of all people, right? And before they went on strike, they were the reigning champions, and they were the longest reigning champions because they were on strike for a few years, and then the league went under. Then the league came back, right? And the guys have no funding, and it just seems that one by one, a lot of the teams that were in the new Arena Football League, the AFL, have dropped out and joined these other leagues. There's the PIFL, Professional Indoor Football League, and there's like 3 different ones. And so the Bearcats are in that league where a couple of the other teams jumped in. Right? Long story short. Yeah. But yeah. So and guys, keep WON on, because again, we have the wrestling, we have the professional bowlers league, right, on, and all of our other compatriots of horror hosts, right? I always bring up Sally the Zombie Cheerleader and Lobo. They're actually from our area. Their studios probably only like about 7 or 8 miles away. And you know, I can't. Got the Midnight Movie. We have creature features, all kinds, right? And you guys will enjoy, right? The one that I like the best is Offbeat Cinema, which is on after us every week. They've been around for probably 30 years, right? They're out of Buffalo, New York, and they're just kind of funny, hokey, the way they do the show. And I've been watching them probably like 8-10 years, because they're on the Retro Channel, and they used to be on Saturday nights on the Retro Channel. So I used to watch that after Svengoolie, right? Even though Svengoolie's on me, but that was my movie I would watch after that. They moved to Sunday night, right? So Friday night is much better for people to watch it, and watch it on our station, WON. All right. So what did I do, right? This past week, Delco Horror Haven, and I was there last Saturday or Sunday, had their annual Ghoulastic Book Fair, right? So what's that? It's a book fair of people that have like horror books, science fiction, supernatural, right? Couple of the authors are great people. This guy Chris Blake, he just won an award for the Cape May Murders, right? And I actually bought that copy of that for my wife for Christmas. She loved it, right? I'm saving it for when I go on vacation because I'll be going vacation down the Jersey Shore, Cape May. So, I'm going to worry about the murders, but good book. And I interviewed probably 25 people there that day, all of them fantastic, right? I got to do all the edits for that, and all I can say is thank you, Delco Harhaven, for doing for having that book fair and allowing me to come interview everybody. Now, the next couple weekends, I have movie fest to go to. Right, this weekend there's a place in Pennsylvania called Media, and they're having their annual at movie fest, and they're not having a specific horror movie fest this year, but they have two horror movie shorts that I definitely want to see. And I think they're playing on Saturday or Sunday. I'm gonna go see them. Then hopefully I can get them to, if they're good, submit their shorts to our Shorty Fest we have every year in on Black Friday. And then the following 2 weeks after that, is the Westchester, Pennsylvania, not Westchester, New York, and their movie fest, and that is always a good time. And funny story, last year when I went, it was actually last April, so it was before our show was on, and I was in there, um, and they had the horror movie shorts, right, and there was probably about a dozen, and they had it in this coffee house, right. So I'm sitting. When I go in, I always like to sit on the end chair because I got a bad knee. I got to stick my knee out. You don't want to hear that, right? And there was this kid, right? 18, 19 years old. He was a senior at one of the high schools, and he was the director of one of these movies. And he's standing next to me, and we're chit chatting, right? And then movies come on. We're watching the movies, and he drops, bang! He just passes out, and right, being a fireman, right? I jump up, I go to help him. A nurse came up and she was helping. Guy passed out, wasn't breathing right, and we're getting ready to start to perform CPR. Now I'm dressed like this, right, which made it even more hysterical, right? And as as we're actually laying him where you know where he's flat in his back, he takes a breath. He's and he snaps out of it. Thank God, right? Because we weren't getting a pulse. Thank God. And what happened was the kid was dehydrated, right? He passed out, right? And apparently, I don't know if his heart stopped. I wasn't getting a pulse on his neck, and the nurse that was there wasn't getting a pulse off his wrist. But he popped back up, right? And it was thank God. And then the people in the ambulance that come, right, is the ambulance company my son worked for. So they come in, they're like, Mr. Passon, why are you dressed like that? Well, long story. But they were like, this kid, he's going to be okay. And he went, and it turns out that he was dehydrated, right? And when you're dehydrated, your veins and your arteries kind of like sink in. So that's why we weren't getting a good pulse, right? So, and it was just funny that happened, right? And we went back in and saw the rest of the movies, and it was an exciting night. So, they actually want me to come back this year, right? As me, right? Not as the fireman, but God forbid anything happens again, because that was scary. If you ever have to perform CPR on somebody, right? It's scary as hell the second, because you're like, one, right? Guys guy's not responding, so you want to be able to help the person. Two, you're like, you're hoping that you can bring the person back. All right. And three, you're scared because you want to make sure you're doing it right. Right. And let me tell you something, right? It was scary for a minute, But when he took that breath and popped up, and the nurse and I got him something to drink, and we were talking to him, right, and he still wasn't with it upstairs, right, because he was dehydrated. But they took him and they actually put him on an IV, some saline, got him up and moving. So that's my Westchester Film Fest story, right? And I'm gonna be interviewing people, right? It'll be fun. If you guys ever have a chance to go to a local film fest, not like the big ones, like like Philly has a film fest. I'm not a fan of it because it's it, it's way too fake for me. I mean, I like the local film fest at the local suburban ones. They've always been a lot of fun. There's actually one coming up in a place called Phoenixville where they film the Blob. There's one in Lancaster, right? Lancaster, Pennsylvania, not California. That I'm going to look forward to. That's coming up in June. So, yeah, so that's where we're at, man. It's like I tonight I didn't Barbie tonight. I went and saw, pardon me, Cinderella that my niece was in high school play, and it was Rogers and Hammerstein. Oh my God, Roger and Hammerstein's version, right? Which was okay. I went for my niece, and she was great. She was the puppeteer for the mice, and she was one of the girls that the prince didn't pick up. But it was pretty good. But again, I'd rather be watching our show than going to see that. But I did see the show because I filmed it. So, all right, I've rambled on way too long, and I'm falling asleep sitting here. So, guys, do me a favor. Pop by our channels, right? Pop by our social medias, right? The boss has downloaded a bunch of bits from the show. The last probably like 4 or 5 show. A couple of the funny bits we did. A couple were, and it's funny. The best bits we got are the ones where we go off, where the doc goes off on the trash trucks, right? Don't freak out, Doc. And when I go off on this time Notre Dame, other times I go off on the Wolf Blade, and I got a new sword. Right? Winter is coming. Right? It's Jon Snow's sword from Game of Thrones. So I'm looking to put that in somebody's heart. So, hey, as the Darbarian, not as a real person. But and I actually got a really, 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 really nice Wolf Blade dagger that I'll be introducing on the show some week coming up. All right. So I'm done. This is the Mad Darbarian for WON TV, Cemetery Cinema, and Mad Darbarian Post Apocalyptic Theater movie reviews. Right? Pop by my YouTube channel and all my other channels. See what we got going on. The Doc's got a million channels, right? And look for him at 11:40. Mad Darbarian out. See ya. Good night. I'm tired. See ya.